I think one of the main reasons why we are suffering so much is because of trapped emotions caused by trauma, abuse, or some sort of negative event that happened in the past life. And I think the main contributor to why we can't move forward is part of the reason why we are stuck in the same place where we were 5, 10, 20 years ago. And in order for us to move forward, we need to kind of understand the root cause of why we are going through what we are going through. And now if you like me, who is a Christian and who believes in God, and at the same time also strongly believe in taking action, you'll understand that faith is nothing without works. But in order for one to have the belief, whether it's God or the universe or whoever you believe in, you first need to understand one's self. I normally call it self-awareness, something. But I read an article, watched an article about the research of Dr. Joe Dispenza. And he made a study and he said, not to go into the scientific details behind it, but what stood out for me was this piece. And he said, our thoughts are very powerful, and by thoughts alone you can make yourself sick. So if our thoughts can make us sick, certainly it's then possible that our thoughts can make us well, right? And I was pondering on this a little as I needed to understand the concept, so I listened to it again. But don't worry, it will make sense soon. And then when I heard this study, I also immediately reflected on my life and mine. And he went further and he said about 95% of who we are by the time we are 35 years old is a memorized set of behaviors, emotional reactions, unconscious habits, and hardwired attitudes. And it started to make sense. Let me explain what he said. And people will judge you based on your behavior or what you project, and of course your attitude. And it so happened that most of us, if not all of us, produces the same kind of or type of emotions, habits, and attitudes. Hence, when someone asks to just explain another person, it will always go along these lines. Oh yes, I like him, or I like him because he's like this, or he's a very passionate or straight to the point person. Or from a negative stance, oh, I don't like him because of this and because of that. Or you might go further and say he doesn't have a great attitude, or he doesn't have patience, or whatever the case may be. So does it mean by these set of behaviors that it's safe to say that we are living in the past? And the main reason we cannot move to the next stage of our life or journey is because we are so caught up in the past that we are blinded by it. You see, you need to understand why you're behaving the way you are and how it's affecting your progress to break free from your current state. Just think about it. The more you think about the negative events that has happened in your life, the more it seems to just continue, and it's like a cycle. It just happens over and over again. So So think about this. So what will happen if we start thinking about the positiveness of the events? What's the odds of your life turning out to be positive? You can answer that for yourself. And as Dr. Joe said, and he mentioned, the brain is a record of the past, which means that the moment you start your day, you're already thinking in the past. Let me explain that to you. So it was, at this stage, it was kind of like a light bulb moment for me. And when you just think about it this way: when you meet up with your friends, what is it that you talk about? It would be some sort of reference to the past. As an example, hey, how was last week's game? Or what a great time you had when you were like 10 years old, or some events that has happened sometime in the past. It will always be a reference of the past. That's how the conversation will go. It will always be about past experience. Now, when you have these types of conversation, you will obviously have all sorts of emotions, whether it's happiness or joy or sadness, meaning how you think and how you feel creates your state of being. So, which means that a person's entire state of being is in the past. So we can then say the familiar past will soon become your predictable future. Just think about it. Have you ever thought about something so much so that it actually happens to you, especially from a negative perspective? Now just imagine what will happen if we turn that negative thinking into positive thinking, or we start filling our thoughts with what we actually want for our life and stop being dictated by the happenings of the past. And Dr. Joe Dispenza makes a good example of this type of state, and he says what happens is that most people, they wait for trauma or disease or some sort of diagnosis, loss or tragedy to change. Now, the thing is, why wait if you can change in a state of joy and happiness, etc.? So, and here's the best part. The moment you start feeling that abundance, or you start feeling good about yourself, you start attracting that positivity, right? So if we can condition our mind for success, what do you think the outcome would be? You'll be successful. There's absolutely no doubt about it. So am I right in saying that we have to change our thoughts, as I said earlier on also? If your thoughts can make you sick, your thoughts can certainly heal you, right? I mentioned in the previous podcast that you and you alone can change your situation. You are in charge of your future. You and only you can change your current state. So when I started this journey, I had to make a choice. Am I going to live in the past and suffer for the rest of my life? Or am I going to create my own future and live for tomorrow? And I know from where I come from, it is very difficult to look ahead and be positive, especially if you're surrounded by all these negativities in your life. So now look at it from from this perspective, from a spiritual or biblical perspective, which is that having faith like a mustard seed, you can move mountains. So if the positivity outweighs the negativity, what do you think will happen in a state when you are positive? And there's no way the negativity will win, right? Because that is what faith is, being positive in a negative situation. This is the state when breakthrough happens. This is the state where your healing normally happens. But most of us, we decide to stay in the state of negativity, angriness, and bitterness. But I mean, the moment you stop living as victims, blaming your father or your mother, or I'm this way because of this person, or I'm the way I am because of that person. I mean, sometimes we have to realize that you and only you are responsible for where you are in your life at this very moment. Remember, where you are today is because of a decision that you made, and you only can decide if you want to stay in that state. We are done blaming others. We are taking responsibility. We are changing our future. We are changing our current state. And I wanna end off with this story. When I went on this journey, it took me almost 2 years to change my thoughts, to change the way I'm thinking, and mainly to change my perception. And it started by forgiveness. It started by letting go of the past, because I knew for as long as I'm going to hold on to this past life and let it control me, I won't be able to move forward. And I'm reminded by this statement, and it says that the trauma you don't heal from becomes the pain someone else had to bear. And I couldn't live with the fact that my child or my children will have to live with the trauma and pain that I didn't heal from. And that's when I decided to flip the script and prove not only myself wrong, but to prove to others that it doesn't matter where you're coming from, it doesn't matter what your current state is, it doesn't matter what your past is. It only takes one shift of your mind, just a little shift of your mind, and you can change your current state for the better.